The National Newspaper Publishers Association represents 253 African American owned newspapers across the United States. We are the trusted voice of the community, reporting the news on freedom, justice, and equality. Hi, I'm Benjamin F. Chavis Jr., and on behalf of Events DC and the National Newspaper Publishers Association, we're so honored to have in our presence the Honorable Stephen Horsford, distinguished Congressman from the 4th Congressional District in Nevada, former chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. Thank you for sharing a few moments with us.
Thank you, Dr. Chavis. The honor's mine, and thank you for your long-standing legacy and commitment to the free press and making sure that our stories are always told across all of our communities.
Thank you. You know, I was just mentioning that when the Congressional Black Caucus convenes every year here in the nation's capital, the D.C. Convention Center comes alive. And I understand that the D.C. Convention Center has been ranked #1 in America. And I think that having this Congressional Black Caucus annual legislative week here in the nation's capital, annual legislative conference in the nation's capital, contributes to that convention center being ranked #1. So the question I want to ask you in terms of economic development, you have a lens, you know across the country how things are impacting, but what's your view on the economic impact of the caucus weekend in D.C.?
Well, as the immediate past chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, we are excited that this conference, which now is in its 54th year, is the largest convening of Black Americans and allies from across the country. We come together to focus on issues that are important. People from all over the country travel in. They are registered. They spend money in our local businesses and restaurants throughout the District of Columbia. But we're here for one purpose. And the theme of this week is Made for This Moment, Politics, Policy, and Progress. And when you think over the 54 years of where we started and where we are now, we have made tremendous progress economically, socially, and in so many other respects. But we also understand that there are challenging times for the communities that we serve. And that is why we're here. And I'm proud of the economic impact that this particular conference has here. But what I'm more proud of is the economic power that Black Americans have every single day in the communities like Nevada and all over the country. And it's important for us to know that power, but it's also important for the general public and corporate America, quite frankly, to understand that power.
That's an excellent segue. Corporate America appears, not all, but some in corporate America appear to be retreating from any emphasis on diversity or emphasis on inclusiveness. How does the Congressional Black Caucus respond to some of this retreat by corporate America?
So last year, during my chairmanship, the caucus actually commissioned a corporate accountability report where we called on all of Fortune 500 companies to respond to their own business practices around diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the commitments that they made after the death of George Floyd. Fortunately, we received more than a majority of those responses back across every sector. But as you indicate, since the end of last year, the election, and the consequences, we have seen some companies and some sectors that had previously been moving in the right direction starting to back away. Now, we understand the moment, we understand the legal environment, but what we've said all along is this is not a feel-good approach. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is about an economic business imperative. And businesses and companies that understand the value of the Black dollar and the Black consumers and the value of diverse consumers broadly, then they will want to ensure that their boardrooms, their senior management, their workforce, their business diversity of suppliers reflect the diversity of the communities that they operate in, that they serve in, and that largely their consumer base is dependent upon. So our message from the Congressional Black Caucus is, number one, don't retreat from your own commitments as a business imperative. Number two, the pendulum swings, and we're watching. And as we return to a position to ensure there's accountability, we'll be looking for those companies who stood strong and continue to make progress, and those who chose to capitulate. We don't want there to be the dire effects, particularly like we've seen from certain brands who've chosen to walk away from the Black community.
Well, thank you. Some of your colleagues on the other side of the aisle have tried to posit that our democracy is based on merit.
Yes, it is. Diversity is merit.
Right, exactly. It presupposes, Black folks are not, we are meritorious. Beyond all of what we've been through, everything from slavery, the transatlantic slave trade, Jim Crow, to today, we've striven for excellence, attained excellence, based on merit.
Right.
And every time I see, one of us on the tennis court or the basketball or football or in business, merit. So how would you respond to your colleagues on the other side of the aisle who try to presuppose we are without merit?
Thank you, Dr. Chavis. That's such an important point. And, it's really an insulting concept that individuals based on their background or experience somehow lack the qualifications to do these jobs. We are qualified despite some of the inherent inequities that have denied people access to opportunity, whether that's to education, whether that's to formal training programs, whether that's to access to capital in the case of small businesses and diverse suppliers. And so really the question is, what are our values as Americans? I believe our values reflect out of many one, that we are stronger through diversity, and that diversity, in fact, is our strength. And again, companies who understand those values, who reflect those values, are the ones, according to independent research like by McKinsey Institute and others, that show that those companies have better returns to their shareholders, better return on their market value and their stocks when they have a more diverse team. Because
diversity is good for business.
It's good for business. And it is, we actually called our corporate accountability What Good Looks Like, a commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we identified 12 indicators of what good looks like. And those companies who were meeting those objectives or close to meeting them across, again, every sector for the first time, this study was commissioned. So we're going to continue on that work. But to my colleagues on either side of the aisle who don't understand, this is who we are. These are our values. And if we walk away from our values, then you're walking away from the strength of what makes this country great to begin with.
GOTV, getting out to vote. Some would say we're in the situation that we're in if we'd have had more people turn out to vote in 2024. 2026 is coming very rapidly. As former chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, how do you envision reinvigorating the zeal to vote, the, almost rushing to the polls to vote rather than waiting for somebody to drag you to the polls?
Well, this is probably one of the biggest questions right now in this moment. And it's why this conference is so important. And before we jump to getting out the vote, because I think this is part of our problem, quite frankly, is that we really need to center the people in the policies.
Yes.
Because they're the ones experiencing the pain of what's happening, both right now in this moment and, quite frankly, before this moment. The status quo wasn't so great for many communities to begin with. So one of the approaches that the Congressional Black Caucus and Leader Jeffries and others, including myself, have done is to really get out of the Capitol and to get into communities and to listen directly to the people who are experiencing the pain of increased cost of housing. For example, in my district, more than 35% of the households in my district spend more than 50% of their monthly income on rent or their mortgage. When you add that and the cost of childcare, which is almost 20%, the cost of energy, which is sometimes another 20%, and groceries, it's unsustainable for most families to even get ahead, let alone to try to thrive. The cost of healthcare, the cost of childcare, these are the burdens that average families are really grappling with. And small businesses are also saying that these tariffs, which are really taxes that we pay, not some foreign government somewhere, is creating a lot of economic uncertainty at a time when we should be focused on economic opportunity. So I actually believe our challenge in this moment isn't so much about getting out the vote. It's about listening to the American people and learning what they want their officials to be focused on, lifting up their stories, and then making that agenda the reason why people get out to vote. So flipping the script, if you will.
Yes.
Let's not make it about the party or any one particular candidate or only during a presidential cycle. Let's make it about the issues that are affecting the American people. And when we do that, I think people will vote, and they will vote like their life depends on it because they understand what's at stake for them, themselves, and their family.
Well, I also represent the Black press. We want to help the Congressional Black Caucus to get that messaging out, get those issues out, as you say, so people can understand why they're having the pain that they're having. In 2027, we're going to celebrate the 200th anniversary of the Black press. We're certainly going to be at the D.C. Convention Center, but I want to just put it out now. There are 62 members of the Congressional Black Caucus, the largest number we've ever had. We would like for the caucus and the Black press and the Black church, all HBCUs, all of us to work together to make sure that what you just said, that messaging gets to where it needs to get sustainably over and over and over again. Because, unfortunately, we are also predominated with a lot of misinformation, disinformation. So it's a matter of consistent dissemination of the truth. And our people will respond. I agree with you. So we got our sleeves rolled up. We're looking forward to working with you. I know that we're almost out of time, but I always ask this question.
Okay.
Congressman Horsford, based on your leadership, based on your knowledge of your own congressional district, but a broader perspective across America, what gives you your greatest hope today?
The people. I am in this work for the people and because I love the people. I fundamentally believe you really can't represent the people if you don't love the people you serve and that you know the challenges that they're facing. The lived experience that I've grown up with, raised by a single mother. I lost my father to gun violence when I was a freshman in college. I'm the oldest and had to become the head of the household at a young age. But despite circumstance, someone afforded me an opportunity, one to an education and then to an internship in the Nevada legislature. And those things changed my life and gave me the hope that I needed, that I didn't have to give up because of circumstance, that I actually had something to offer, not just to myself and my family, but to the larger community that I serve, that I now am proud to serve. So the thing that gives me the most hope and to continue this work is the people, and to fight for the people, particularly at this time when their health care is under assault, food, nutrition, and insecurity and hunger are real. The impact of community violence. These are issues that, quite frankly, keep me up at night. But I'm also very focused on making sure that we create opportunity for people through job training, through entrepreneurship, through financial literacy, through home ownership, because I also think we need to show people that there is a better way, that we can have wealth, not wealthy like billionaires experience it, but wealth in the sense of living a life of value, being able to raise kids, work hard, retire with security and a sense of dignity, and to know that we've contributed and have a legacy. You represent that. The Black press represents that. And I do want to just take a moment to say something about that, if I could, because yes, the assault on our democracy includes our institutions, our public schools, the courts, our voting system. But one of those cornerstones is the free press. Yes. And especially at a time when the press is being threatened based on what they write or say or post, and the attack of the Black press within corporate media. We've seen literally the elimination of positions, even in this town and places all across the country. And the lack of an independent free press is something that is worth continuing to fight for. So when we talk about democracy, we're talking about all of these institutions, including the importance of the free press. And I want to commend you and the work that you've done throughout your career and are continuing to do.
Congressman Stephen Horsford, we're grateful for your leadership and thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
We are the official host for the nation's capital. We are all things sports. From captivating culinary to celebrating legends and so much more. We are Events DC.
Let's go bigger, I'm that killer. Coming in hot, make you jump like a thriller.
World-class people delivering world-class events. Events DC.
I'm Benjamin F. Chavis Jr., and I'm very honored to welcome the Executive Vice President of Events DC, Dr. Stephen Johnson. And of course, we want to thank you and Events DC for saluting the National Newspaper Publishers Association during the Congressional Black Caucus. This is a great time to do it. Look, man, that DC Convention Center, I mean, and all of the other things that you do, every time I go there, I say, wow, there's been some bad brothers and sisters running this thing. So tell us, how did you get to Events DC?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for Events DC, which is the official convention of the Sports Authority for the nation's capital, be a part of this very important, not only program, but just initiatives and all that you do strategically, not only for our country, but for the world. Events DC, we're very honored to be a partner with you and all that you've done for so many years. Serve as I had the honor to work at Howard University over 20 years, in which we worked there. I was over the Andrew Rankin Chapel with Dean Richardson and Crampton Auditorium. But we had so many things to do. Events DC, we have 10 venues here in the nation's capital, one being the Walter Washington Convention Center, which is an award LEED Platinum facility, over 2.3 million square feet space. And not only in terms of its brick and mortar, but we feel honored to be a part of the social economic impact that we have in serving our communities. Here in Washington, D.C., we've had the honor of not only hosting over 50 years of the Congressional Black Caucus here in the nation's capital, which policymakers come together to just make an impact on our respective communities and education, health, and just the welfare of our neighbors. The work that you do as the president and CEO of the National Newspaper Publishers Association is very significant. especially during this time when they talk about fake news and those things, you continue to make an impact in our respective communities, just to make sure that those untold stories are relevant and that they're meaningful to really telling the truth about what has happened in our respective communities.
Well, thank you. The truth of the matter is, one of the things that keeps our newspapers alive is getting content. Your Events DC is a content producer, as well as all the administrative stuff dealing with all these venues. So you have 10
Yes.
venues. I mean, running the DC Convention Center is enough for full time. I don't know how you have the other time to run the other 9 venues. But I want to go something specific in terms of the nation's capital.
Yes.
To use a hip hop term, there are a lot of player haters on DC. So, what do you say to people who try to put down what DC has to offer? And how does Event DC lifts up what the nation's capital has to offer?
Well, first, Events DC, we've been very fortunate to have partners. One thing is that if you're relevant, people pay attention, and there will always be barriers in your way if you're relevant. One significant impact is if you're not relevant, people are not paying attention, and you won't have barriers, and you won't have things that you have to overcome. One thing that Events DC have done is partnering with you, partnering with Paxton Baker.
Yes.
This the significant work that he does, not just in the community, but also in the sports field. We work with him with the Washington Nationals. We are the landlords for the Washington Nationals.
Congratulations on the World Series.
Thank you so much. And also we've been just recently working to bring the Washington Commanders back to DC. That was something that we've been working with along with Mayor Bowser and the DC Council. And we've been successful in bringing the Washington Commanders back. I'm responsible for the demolition of the RK Stadium, in which we managed the stadium. And we've taken down the stadium, and we will be on time in finishing that by next year, 2026. So to the point, we have these venues, but they're just venues. But it wouldn't be possible without people. Our most important asset is human power, is working with people, coming together collectively to make an impact on our communities. We give in grants in various areas to our communities, just to make sure that people are engaged with youth sports, making sure that they have constructive activities in terms of the curtail the gangs and the violence and other things that we have in our society. So that's what Events DC is all about, really working with our restaurant associations, our hotels, working with partners like you, working with the Congressional Black Caucus, our policymakers, to make an impact not only in sports and entertainment, but also in the healthcare and education and other areas that are all a part of what's important to our respective communities.
Thank you. Washington, D.C. is the nation's capital, but it's also one of the most diverse cities in the world. How does Events DC deal with the diversity of the nation's capital?
One way in which it speaks to our respective mission is that we educate, we entertain, and we make sure that everyone have a seat at the table. So as a part of what we do, we elevate everyone, and we make sure that with our funds that we work with a diverse group of organizations to make sure that we could touch all 8 wards, but also expand beyond just the nation's capital. Just make sure that we have a presence in other parts of the country. For instance, working with our tourism arm, we have an office in China. We've made some inroads in terms of Africa. Recently in January, went to Ethiopia, which is, outside of Ethiopia, right here in the diaspora. We have the largest population of Ethiopians right here in the DMV. But also, by this being National Hispanic Heritage Month, we work with the El Salvadorian community, in which Washington, D.C. has the largest population of El Salvadorians outside the nation. We have recently, through the leadership of Mayor Bowser, reestablished the sister city relationship with El Salvador. So what we do is go well beyond the confines of right here in the nation's capital, just to make sure that we stay relevant, make sure that we're listening to our constituents, and make sure that we make adjustments and pivot in ways in which we could reallocate our resources to make sure that we're serving those who mean the most.
I already know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask you anyway. How would you rate the DC Convention Center as to other convention centers in America?
Well, if you ask me, I'll say number one, but most importantly, everything is supported by data. So, in the tourism, U.S. tourism states that our convention center is number one. And
Number one
is number one
in the nation.
in the nation.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. We came up with competition with Boston, San Diego, all of those convention centers, and we went from lead gold to lead platinum. We very proud of our sustainability efforts that we've done. We work with our food and beverage partner to make sure that we grow on product on site. And also we're making ways to where we could repurpose products that are in the convention center, such as carpet, et cetera, where we could give to local schools and find ways as to how we could stay relevant and meet the needs of not only the customers that are in and out of the halls of the convention center, but also those individuals who reside in our communities.
Great. In 2027, it'll be the 200th anniversary of the Black Press. And some of our board members were talking about, well, where are we going to say? I said, look, there's only one place. That's D.C.
That's DC.
So we're going to be in touch with you, Events D.C., about how we can have a global celebration of the 200th anniversary
That will
of the
be,
Black Press.
we definitely want to be a part of it. And also it aligns with America. We celebrate America 250 years.
That's right.
So this is the place for the Black Press to be. This is the most relevant place in the world. We of course celebrate the nation's capital, but we're the capital of the world because everything that we do, it touches everyone and everybody, not only in the United States, but throughout the country. So we want to be a part of it. We want to make sure that we stay relevant. We want to make sure that we continue our partnership because it depends on the very lives of the people who depend on us. So it's very important. And so let's get it started.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Every city, to some extent, tries to evaluate what they're doing for the young people of the city. I've been very impressed with the sports outreach, Paxton and others. But tell us, as part of the mission of Events DC, what is the outreach to young people who live in the nation's capital?
Thank you. We have spent a lot of time and effort, but also resources on investing in the youth. Just recently, thanks to Councilmember Kenya McDuffie of the council, we were awarded a $250,000 grant to make sure that it specifically went toward youth sports. That was initially. And then because of how we use those funds and the return on that investment, Councilmember Kenya McDuffie gave us $1 million grant. He increased it just to make sure that it went toward youth sports. So for instance, that served Howard University students swim team to go to Jamaica. And also there was some youth sports that participated and received those grant funds to make sure that they were able to support those nonprofit organizations that make a difference. I'm a actual testament of that. I was not in the sports field. I played baseball, but I was a classical jazz clarinetist. And because of the constructive activities that I was engaged in, it kept me off the streets. It kept me bad influences in practicing and the discipline that it took. And it wasn't something that I was just able to do in music, but it actually translated into the professional career as well in terms of discipline that earned me 100% tuition waiver to go to Howard University for 4 years, which some of my other friends, they didn't have that opportunity. So I can attest to the fact that if you invest in the youth, it will be a return on the investment. One other thing I'd like to mention, at Events DC, we're proud to state that we have not forgotten about those returning citizens. We just launched a new program with
Those are returning from prison.
For prison.
Yes.
So those individuals who are returning from prison, giving them a second chance. We've launched a new program called a pre-apprenticeship carpentry program, in which we have joined forces with the National Carpenters Union to make sure that we training those returning citizens, those TANF, temporary assistance for needy families, to have an opportunity to be selected in which they were. And they be graduating on September the 30th at the convention center, where they learn soft skills, how to financial literacy, how conflict resolutions, but also going to the Carpenters Union on Saturdays in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, where they go a pipeline from being a pre-apprentice to becoming an apprentice in the union. And not only just learning general carpentry, but also trade show carpentry. So we're the only convention center in the country that has a pre-apprenticeship program that's teaching actual trade show carpentry so they can have a job with those large organizations, Freeman, Hargrove, and all of those other big companies, and becoming a part of the union so they could change their lives. We have one gentleman who spoke to the class, and he was incarcerated for many years. He got out. He's a journeyman carpenter, and now he's a foreman on a job, and he's making 6 figures. So it can be done. And I can say those are the type of opportunities that we offer here in Washington, D.C. Just those first sorts of agreements to be able to work on various jobs throughout the city, those certified business enterprise for women and minorities to own their own businesses, to be given an opportunity to change their lives, not only for themselves, but for their families.
And people watching this program, you're going to have everybody moving to D.C.
That move to D.C. D.C. is the place to be.
You kind of went over, but I want to go back. Look, playing the B-flat clarinet is hard as it is. You are a classical clarinetist. You're multi-talented, man. So, your discipline in music, how does that affect your discipline in business?
About time. I would rather have an employee who report on time and who is average than one who is extremely talented and don't show up on time.
Time is important.
Time is important. Because if you're not there, then you can't get it done. So if you show up and I get 50%, 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing any day of the week.
Very good, very good. Life lessons.
Yes.
Time.
Time.
It's our time. But I do want to ask you one last question. Dr. Johnson, what gives you your greatest hope for the future?
My greatest hope is this new generation. This new generation is the most talented generation that ever been on this earth. Their willingness to learn, their willingness to adapt, their willingness to change, that's what gives me hope, this new generation. I believe that if we pour into this new generation, it'll be the greatest return and the greatest generation that ever been produced on this earth. And that's what gives me hope.
Dr. Stephen Johnson, Executive Vice President of Events DC. Thank you so much.
Thank you.